Paddy, thanks for joining me. This week is EFL Youth Development Week. What is the importance of, not just this week, but youth development in general up and down the country?
I think for football clubs, youth development's massive. I think from any age, whether your academy starts at pre-academy and under 6, or whether it starts later in the years, depending on what category you are. Like for us, for example, at U18, I think it gives you an opportunity to instill the values of your football club in young players. I think it's important to create an environment for them when they come in that sort of replicates what the journey looks like further down the line. So for us as a first team, how we play, what are the characteristics of the play that we want from the players? What is the core techniques that we identify within players that we need, that we want them to be able to execute when they come to play for first team. But certainly for down the younger age groups, for teams and for clubs that are fortunate to have from pre-academy up, being able to bring kids into a safe and fun learning environment where they can get good valuable contact time and get a variety of different coaching and a variety of different experiences and games, and then obviously that journey, taking them through the football club and through then in the first team.
Looking at players then who've kind of began that journey in the last 12 to 18 months, we've had Gunnar Elliott, Alex Whitney, Liam Jessup, Ashton Ronaldo, all kind of embedded really well in the first team squad. What are the difficulties of that journey, but how important is it that it runs smoothly, and what's your kind of influence over that?
Yeah, I think the journey, getting from academy football to first team football, the jump's huge. And usually the opportunity comes, for Gunnar. We look back to, his opportunity come off the back of an injury crisis with the first team, and Gunnar went from having his Christmas dinner with his family to being on the bench and then making his debut away at Fleetwood, and it's an experience for him that he'll never forget. And then obviously it gives him a taste of it, and similar to Liam Jessup, who came in. Again, played, made his debut against Crewe in the league at the start of last season. Had his first start at MK Dons away. Again, tough evening because of the injury crisis and things. But the kids were through in and given an opportunity, to go and experience what first team football is like. And it's, I think, one of our, we talked just previously about being a Cat 4, and obviously we don't have the academy all the way through the U18, but when we have good players coming at U18, the pathway then for them is actually the first team's quite close. All those players you mentioned are training with the first team. Unfortunately, Gunnar's injured at the minute. Liam's gone out on loan, which is a really good opportunity for him, playing in the UEFA Conference League. When he's gone there, Alex is training with us every day, and obviously for Alex's development, he made his debut in the Virtue Trophy a couple of weeks ago, albeit it was a difficult game for him and not the sort of way you'd want the game to go when you're giving a young player their debut. But he's had the experience of being in there, and Alex's development now will be Central League games, being one of the top players in the youth team, and hopefully them getting more first team minutes in the games that come up at Burton and Liverpool, and it's for them it's invaluable. They see when they come into our environment the standards that our players set, and it's important that when they do come in, our players that we have a really good group, but they encourage and support the young lads when they come in, but and set the standard for them, and then for the young players then to get to the standard that the senior players are setting.
In your position at the club, obviously your main focus is the first team, but you oversee the kind of coaching and syllabus within the academy. What's your kind of working relationship like with PDP head coach Hayden Hollis and academy manager Neil Cluxton?
Yeah, Neil and Hayden are brilliant. They're very flexible, both with my own current situation, as in working as first team coach and head of coaching within the academy, but also in terms of what we ask and the demands that we put on them as staff and the players then that they have within the groups. It's we want our youth team and our players to play a very similar brand to what we play at the first team. It's important, that the players are being exposed to that within the youth team, and it's it's a fine line, because obviously we want the players to develop and we want them to have to be ready. For example, when Alex steps up to play with the first team, or we've even had some like the likes of a young Maka who's been up and been around it as well. We want them to come up, and if they go into the slot, to know what's expected within that slot. Catch-22 then is obviously if they go and play in the youth team and we're not dominating the ball, for example, in the game, because the other team might be slightly stronger, then it's what principles do they get there, and so for them it's for the young players it's the learning that comes with that. For Hayden, Hayden's not, I wouldn't say new into coaching, but obviously it's his first full-time role, and he's so hungry to learn, and he's hungry to improve, and he's so keen in terms of developing himself. You know, how we play, for example, as a first team might not necessarily fall in line with how he would play as a manager, or his preferred style of play. So the learning comes within that as well. And like I said, the pathway for us is having our youth team. And basically through in the first team is similar for the coaching staff. You know, only today we had a 60-minute game at the training ground with our best sort of 18s, 21s and 23s made across football education and youth team coming to play against our first team players that needed minutes. You know, the game was taken by Neil and Hayden. Later on in the week we'll have our shape leading into the game on Saturday against the youth team on Thursday, where the youth team players are getting exposed to what we want. You know, like, this is what we're looking to do, this is what we're trying to execute in the game. So they're seeing the informations firsthand that are coming from the manager and the staff around that. But then the staff there, Neil, Hayden and the rest of the support staff are seeing the information that the coaches are giving across and the style of play. And then obviously then, in line with the coaching programme that we've put together, going to execute that then within our games programme that we currently play in.
I think a good example of the sort of crossover with the first team in the academy and giving the academy lads opportunities is the reserve team playing in the Central League. I know last season there was a few of the games where there was a lot of first team involvement, and some games where it was less so, but that crossover between the sides is really good.
Yeah, the Central League for us is invaluable. You know, like, obviously having just a youth team and a first team, the education programme does so well to provide other teams within the age groups in between that. But in terms of professional level, you know, being able to have 18 the first team, the Central League game provides that bridge. So last year, as you mentioned, you know, Salford, Preston at home, you know, playing out here, we're able to mix our best young lads that we have coming through with our first team players that need minutes, and it's invaluable for them. You know, it's good for us, as obviously our senior players that need minutes are getting minutes. The young players that we deem those of high potential that can then come and play alongside, you know, that we see going to play maybe in our first team or being around the first team squad, can then go and slot into a team that plays how the first team want. For example, in those games where 9 times out of 10 we will take control of the game, we will dominate the ball, we will ask the likes of Alex Whitney to be 1v1 at the back, you know, exposing maybe certain areas that he needs, you know, like to improve and vice versa. So the Central League's been really good for us for that regard.
Finally then, just to round off the Youth Development Week, what advice would you give to not only the young players within the Chesterfield FC first team environment, but players up and down the country and those within the academy?
I think the most important thing is, like, you've got to enjoy it, haven't you? You've got to love what you do. You know, like, even coaching any walk of life, you know, you've got to love, if you come to football and come to love it, then you're gonna be okay at it, aren't you? Because you've got that love for it there, the enthusiasm is there. Obviously, within that, then when you come, you've got to just give your all. You know, if you give your best, and that's all you can ask. You can't give any more. So I would say, you know, to any young player out there, enjoy it. You know, like, embrace the journey. There is loads of highs and there is loads of lows that come with it. I've been fortunate to be in an academy environment for 10, 11 years now across 6 the first team. So I've seen the highs and I've seen the lows. Whether it's a low, you can always come back from it. You know, the high, obviously, enjoy it, but keep working. And that, for me, it'll just be enjoy it, keep working hard, keep looking to improve, keep listening to those, you know, your coaches and the people that can help you. And what will be, will be.